I'd use to describe my role is team, rewarding and challenging.
Positive, team, supportive.
3 words I'd use to describe this job: gratifying, inspirational, challenging. Before this, I was a hairdresser, but I wanted to do more than make people feel good. I wanted to help change their lives. I'm now part of a team that does exactly that every day.
I spend my days talking to the residents of Nottinghamshire, their families and the support services that help them on a day-to-day basis. We're the front door to adult social care in Nottinghamshire, and we're responsible for taking the time to build a picture through talking with our residents about how they lead their lives, the things that they find difficult, the things that they can do, and also looking at how they wish to fulfil their lives to the best of their possibilities. In the 5 years of working here, I've learnt so much, particularly about social care. I had no previous experience in it, but through a really good training and induction plan, I was given all of the skills and information that I needed to be able to do my job. I've also been able to grow personally and within my career since then through a personally tailored plan of support and training to keep me going.
We're a really close-knit team and we thrive off helping the community of Nottinghamshire to live a valued and independent lifestyle. Every day is different and there's always new things to learn, which makes the role interesting and really exciting. At the end of the day, knowing that I've helped a number of people to have a better quality of life makes every day worthwhile.
COVID-19 is in our communities and the number of cases is on the rise. So it's essential that we each play our part in full by following all of the government guidance. Only by doing this can we keep our schools and businesses open. If you're young and healthy, you may feel the virus isn't a threat to you. But someone more vulnerable to coronavirus than you, perhaps someone closer to you than you realise, is depending on you to play your part in breaking the chain of transmission. So I'm asking everyone to do their bit. Stick to the rule of 6 for gatherings indoors or outdoors. Wash your hands thoroughly and regularly. Wear a face covering in enclosed spaces. Observe social distancing of 2 metres or 1 metre plus precautions where 2 metres really isn't possible. Follow all of the guidelines about car sharing. If you have symptoms, self-isolate and get a free test immediately. If we work together on this, we can control the spread of the virus. Thank you. Hello, my name's Jonathan Gribbin and I'm the Director of Public Health for Nottinghamshire, and I lead the county's response to COVID-19. None of us want our children to miss out on all of the benefits that school brings. So I want to let you know just how hard our schools have been working to ensure that they've all got in place the sensible precautions to receive back pupils at the start of the new year. But of course, all of us need to play our part in stopping the spread. So alongside the guidance you know about already, I also want to urge you to follow the guidance on safe travel to school. Please walk or cycle, or if a car journey really is essential because you live more than 2 miles from school, please arrange drop-offs well away from the school itself. You can find out more details about this and about all of the other government guidance on our website. If you've any questions about plans or arrangements at a particular school, then the school itself will be the best place to answer them. Thank you for watching.
My name's Jonathan Gribbin. I'm the Director of Public Health for Nottinghamshire County, and I'd like to tell you about the COVID-19 Local Outbreak Control Plan for Nottinghamshire. It's all
Okay, I'm told the 10 seconds is up. So good morning, everyone, again. As we're now live streaming, I'd like to welcome you all to this meeting of the Improvement and Change Subcommittee, which is being held remotely, with the majority of members joining the meeting from their own homes. I'm Councillor Regid Aaron and Chairman of this subcommittee. For the benefit of viewers of the live stream, I will now ask the Clerk to the committee, Sarah Olam, to list the other members present today. Sarah, please.
Thank you, Chairman. The other committee members present are Councillors John Cotty, Jim Creamer, Kate Fole, Tony Harper, Richard Jackson, David Martin, Diana Meal and Philip Owen. We also have Councillor Kay Cutts present today. And as well as myself, we also have the following officers present today. So we have Service Director Marge Toward, Service Director Nigel Stevenson, Service Director Derek Higton, Corporate Director Adrian Smith, Interim Head of IT Mark Davies, Group Manager Sue Milburn and Group Manager Marie Rowney. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for that. So next item then on the agenda is the minutes of the last meeting held on the 21st of July 2020. Can I take those as read, please? Okay, everybody's nodding, so thank you very much. We'll take that as read. And so the next item then is apologies for absence. Sarah, do we have any apologies for absence?
There are no apologies. Everybody's here. Thank you.
Okay, so declarations of interest. Do any members or officers present have any disclosure of pecuniary interest to declare? Do any members or officers present have any private interest, pecuniary or non-pecuniary, to declare? Everybody's shaking their head, so I'll take that as read. Thank you very much. And then we'll move on to the first item on the agenda of Transformation and Change Programme and the Transformation Model. And to introduce the item, I'll hand over to Derek Higton to introduce the report. Thank you, Derek.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, members. This report is intended to update members on progress with implementing our model for transformation and also a range of programmes to drive corporate and service level change. The report, I think, is relatively self-explanatory, but I'll just draw members' attention to some key points within it. The first is that at the previous meeting, the subcommittee approved a proposed model for transformation, improvement and change, and that established a service director role to lead on transformation and change. And I've been appointed as on an interim basis to lead that work in the short to medium term. That appointment took effect in late August, so I've been in post now for just under a month, and so I've already began to work with colleagues to both deliver and develop the transformation model and also to look hard at our future change programmes. Paragraph 4 of the report highlights the fact that we've hitherto been working with a consultancy company, Newton Europe, to develop both our transformation model and our up-to-date approach to corporate change. And we've made the decision to finish our relationship with Newton Europe now that they've delivered some key products for us, notably the change model that was approved by members at the last committee meeting, and also our embryonic change programmes. The fact that we've chosen to move on ourselves as a council now, I think, represents the fact that as a council, and certainly from an officer perspective, we're very confident in our ability to deliver and develop that transformation model that members have previously approved. And I'll be coming back to committee at the next meeting with a high-level structure for the new transformation team, the transformation service, and also with more information and further updates on our cross-cutting programmes that we're intending to develop and deliver over the coming months and years, and they will be long-term change programmes that will be properly transformative in terms of the way the County Council goes about its business and the outcomes that it delivers for residents and service users as well. So, as I said right at the start there, I've been in post now for about a month, so we've already made significant progress with developing the work that we need to do to deliver that new transformation model. So I think we can be confident that we've got the ability to deliver that ourselves now. As I said just a moment ago, we'll be coming back to committee in November with more information on the developing cross-cutting programmes. I'll leave it there. I'm happy to take questions from members.
Unmuting is at the mouse in the right place. Anyhow, thank you, Derek. Thanks for that update as to where we are. And just before we move on, the recommendations is it's recommended that members approve the proposed way forward for implementing the agreed model for transformation, improvement and change as set out in the body of the report. Agree to receive further updates of the implementation of the model and the definition and delivery transformation programmes going forward. I propose that recommendation. Do I have a seconder, please?
Yes, it's Councillor Cotty, Chairman, and I'm happy to second those recommendations.
Thank you, John. Thank you very much. Now I open it up for discussion, and first of all, I'll take Kate first.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. Just a couple of observations. In terms of this report, and I know we've had this discussion elsewhere, but some of the language is quite, well, there's an awful lot of management speak in there. And to some extent, it's not terribly clear. I mean, I think we understand it, but it took a while to understand. It's not terribly clear, actually, what's going to happen next. The model seems to be still emerging. I mean, I think Derek just used the word embryonic a while back. And I know one of the recommendations is to approve the proposed way forward for implementing the agreed model for transformation. And I'm not really clear, to be honest with you, what that is at the moment. I mean, we've got snippets of it, and I can see the general kind of direction. And certainly we welcome the change of approach to kind of do this in-house and not continue with Newton Europe. I think that's good. So thank you for that. But I think a little bit more understanding of actually what this means, what's going to happen next. Another question I have as well, and this is with big respect to Derek here. He has a role on an interim basis. An awful lot of stuff is actually in here in terms of what happened short, medium, long term, potentially quite big things. And I just wonder what's going to happen in terms of that role. Is a recruitment process possible at the moment? And if there is going to be a recruitment process, and again, with huge respect for Derek, who knows done a lot of work already on this, should that really be happening until we have somebody permanent in that post? I think that's a little bit of a worry, really. The only other thing I was going to ask, and again, this is a little bit difficult to articulate, so please bear with me, but it seems to me that every time something new arrives, and every time we're in a different situation, another set of structures, another posts kind of get established. And I know to some extent clearly that needs to happen if the work is new and if there are new challenges in place. I do understand that. But it just seems to me in terms of transformation and change, one of the things in terms of this committee, we understand is, with the Reg chairmanship, is that actually transformation and change is embedded. It happens right the way across the council, and we should have that culture in the council. And I just wonder if a new structure is set up, how are members going to kind of watch accountability and kind of see the progress when this is happening on one level? There's all sorts of departmental stuff going on. It just feels as if we're kind of setting up new structures without actually looking at really how this can be embedded right the way across the council. Okay, thank you. That's me done.
Thank you, Kate. Diane?
Thank you,
Diane,
Chair.
can you unmute yourself? Okay.
Yeah, I've done it. Thank you, Chair. Just a quick question, and that is in paragraph 5, talking about the new approach will be critically informed by the establishment of a corporate strategic insight unit, which will include skills and capacity for data insight, analytics and data science. Very important, I think. I just wondered, are we talking about recruiting new people to be part of this strategic insight unit, or are we talking about pulling people from across the council?
Okay, thank you, Diane. David, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Chair.
Okay.
Good morning, everybody. Yeah, I'd just like to ask the question, how much do we think that the impact of the recent pandemic will affect the transformation models that have been established currently, and will that have an impact on the work that Newton have already done for us? Because I think obviously the impact of the pandemic is going to have a massive effect on the way we move forward.
Okay, that's it. Thank you, David. Derek, would you like to pick up on those points, and any other officer would like to come in?
Yeah, absolutely, Chair. Thank you. Thank you, members, for those questions. I'll take them in the order that they were presented. So, to Councillor Fole, you asked around the kind of detail about the emerging model. So there was quite a bit of detail provided at the last committee meeting on the emerging model of, or the agreed model of transformation, and that's the model in outline that we're taking forward. But what I'm proposing to do for the next meeting is not only give that high-level update on kind of structure that I talked about in my introduction to the report, but also describe for members, perhaps via a presentation, how that transformation model will work at a practical level as well, and in particular, to pick up on your third point, how we will ensure that the new transformation model will work across the body corporate, if you like, across the whole of the council, both delivering and supporting cross-cutting programmes, which we'll provide more detail on, but also supporting departmental and service level change and transformation, because as I think you intimated, there's not a clear dividing line between service and departmental level change and corporate level and system change. All of those things are different points on the same continuum. So I think by way of a presentation, perhaps to kind of illuminate the conversation a little bit more for members, we'll be able to provide you with a little bit more insight as to how we envisage the transformation model working in practice, supporting the work of the council, supporting change and supporting better outcomes for service users and residents as well. As far as the interim nature of my post is concerned, my understanding is that we do intend to recruit on a permanent basis. That is made more difficult by the current circumstances and COVID, there's no doubt about that. But I know from elsewhere in the council, we're currently undergoing recruitment for senior posts and a range of other posts as well. And we're not experiencing undue difficulty in terms of recruitment or indeed retention at the moment. So I'd be confident that we'll be able to recruit on a permanent basis to this post, and that's a process that will begin soon in terms of pulling together clear specification and advert and a process for recruitment, and obviously that will be a member appointment because it's a service director role. As far as the fit between the work that I'll be doing on a short-term basis and the kind of longer-term priorities that we have as a council and that the permanent service director will be delivering on, I think my role has been described to me, and I see it certainly as a case of laying the foundations, getting activity going, because we can't afford to wait, either for financial reasons or for reasons of needing to deliver ongoing service change and transformation. For me, it's about laying the groundwork for the permanent post holder to come in and build upon the transformation model that we've developed and that has been agreed already by members, so that they'll be able to hit the ground running as and when they start. Councillor Meal, you asked the question around the strategic insight unit and how we'll choose to recruit to it. So my take on that is that at the moment we have a significant number of people with the right and the requisite skills to populate a strategic insight unit inside the council. I think the question for me is more about how we can ensure that they both are brought together to work in as an effective way as possible, but also that we can engender a culture both within our transformation team but also across the council that enables that strategic insight unit to offer both support, whether it's data, business analysis, or other technical activity for departments and for services, but also that it offers some challenge for those services and departments as well, so that it offers a little bit of an objective analysis, an objective challenge about the way that we do things and the ways that we might be able to do things better, all of which is informed by effective analysis of business information and data and research. I think we've got those skills within the council, and for personnel and also financial reasons, at the moment I don't envisage that we'll be looking to embark upon a significant piece of work to bring in new skills from outside the council for that team. And then the last question, Councillor Martin, was around, it was a good question around the impact on transformation of COVID. Absolutely. It's obviously impacting upon so many areas of the council's business at present. I think one of the key issues for me from a transformation perspective is the impact on capacity that COVID can potentially has, because we need to reserve in our new model for transformation, our new staffing structure for transformation, the capacity to support our corporate response to all the challenges that we've seen from COVID, and of course the challenges that it will undoubtedly bring over the winter that perhaps we can't quite foresee at the moment. So one of the critical features for our new structure will be the need to be able to retain a little bit of capacity to respond and support the council to respond to unforeseen events and circumstances. And certainly, if I look back to the initial response phase that the council had back in March and April to the first phase of COVID, colleagues in our transformation team then were absolutely pivotal in helping us set up our community hub arrangements, our food support arrangements. Then they demonstrated then they've got the ability and the capacity to drive lots of new ways of working, and I think that's a model that we'll look to continue and embed in the future as we develop the new model.
Is that it?
Yes.
It, Derek? Any other officers want to contribute anything to the answer to the questions? Doesn't seem so. So anyhow, thank you then for that, Derek, and pointing the way forward. And I know on the back of COVID, it's sort of put a bit of a lull in some of the things we were trying to do, but hopefully we'll pick up speed now and get on with it and start making those real transformation things to improve the business of the council. So having said that, we'll now move to the vote on the recommendations, which we have already talked about on page 6. So if I can do that, so I'll ask Sarah to take us through the voting procedure by raising her hands. All right, Sarah.
Thank you, Chairman. So in order to make the voting clearer for each agenda item, I will read out members' name alphabetically in order for you to confirm whether you are voting for or against the recommendations or abstaining. Please note that the individual votes will not be recorded in the minutes of the meeting unless 2 or more members request it, in line with the usual recorded vote arrangements. So I'll read out the names as follows. Councillor Adair.
For.
Councillor Cotty.
For.
Councillor Creamer.
For.
Councillor Fole.
For.
Councillor Harper.
For.
Councillor Jackson.
For.
Councillor Martin.
For.
Councillor Meal.
For.
Councillor Owen.
For.
All members voted for the motion.
So thank you for that. So we can move on then to agenda item 5, which is my notes update. And to introduce the item, and I'll hand over to Maria Rowney, to give us a presentation. Thank you, Maria.
Good morning, councillors. So I'm here to present an update on to members on my Nots app, the progress that we've made to date, plus give you a flavour of the thoughts and ideas that we have for future developments. So I'll just share my desktop and hopefully this will work. Can everyone see that?
That's okay, Maria, it's come through.
Lovely. Right. Okay, that's brilliant. So taking us to September 2020, really, I just thought I'd give you an update of where we are, what we've done so far, and what we thought that we would do in the next few months and beyond that. So the aim, really, just to take you back to this time last year, was to successfully deliver the MyNots app, linking to some key user journeys, but also providing a digital presence and drive self-service with the delivery date of January 2020. So we delivered that. But we're still very conscious that it was a stake in the ground upon which to build. The feedback initially was very good, and we had a good initial uptake of around 3,500 users when we first launched. We went with some of the key user journeys, which were highways and waste, but it was very basic information initially, the registration service, some information on adults and children, a link to the school holidays and jobs, but also we added some social media and some news items on there and some basic information around visiting Notts. So it was, I think we had on there Rufford Park, Sherwood Forest and the Water Sports Centre initially, and we also added a feedback loop so that we could get feedback from users and then work that into our development plans. So that was delivered. The feedback and stats so far, we've now got over 7,000 downloads. We've taken feedback from the App Store and also from the Google Store. In the Apple Store, it's 5 stars, and in the Google Store, it's 3.5. We're still getting potholes and other highways services being reported through the app, and 6% of potholes are being reported via the app at the moment. In terms of individual visits, it's around 34,500, so each of the users are going in between 4 and 5 times, and our biggest used tiles, i.e. the things that they click on the most, are waste and recycling, job vacancies, and, as you'd imagine, highways. So I've taken some feedback from the app stores so that you can see the kind of feedback that people are saying. We did have some initial feedback that we've fed into our improvement cycle and made some changes on the back of some of the feedback that we got initially. That was mainly around there wasn't quite enough information, we needed more links, etc. But this was some of the positive feedback that we have. So I just leave you to read that, but a nice one from Citizens Advice in Bassett Law that they're going to actually ask people to download it and use it. It's clear and easy to use and clutter-free. And a little bit more. So does what it says on the tin, opens the door to NCC, really easy to use. Someone's recently installed it, but found it very easy and got the information that they wanted. So relatively positive at the moment. In terms of the progress that we've made to date, I think COVID's impacted us, as you'd imagine, because we launched and then 5 weeks after launch we were hit in lockdown. So it left resources a little bit tight to look at how we develop the MyNots app further. In saying that, though, we have done some work on the app, and there, I'll come to that in a second, but we did some COVID push notifications to users. So we sent out information to users of the app to say, provide them with links to COVID information, so that worked well. We've managed to do some briefings with departments, and they've given us some feedback on the things that they'd like to add. We've also taken on board some feedback from users, and what we've done with all that is we've categorised it into category one, the work that we can do ourselves, and we're getting on with that. The category 2 is work that might require ICT or service support, i.e. some system integration if we wanted to do some work, for instance, with reporting several potholes at the same time. We might need to do some integration with the HAM system. We might need ICT and service support to do that. And the final category is one that needs scoping and might need some investment if we wanted to go down that route. General feedback and ideas form is being developed so that people within the council can give us changes to the app and make recommendations. So that's under development at the moment. And many of the Do It Now improvements have actually been done by the CSC and we'll be continuing to do those as and when we get them. So I wanted to show you some screenshots of what we've done so far. And we changed the first thing, I suppose, is that we changed the MyNots landing page so that we've got a bit of branding on there and it was more Robin Hood. We've added some COVID information. So when you click on the COVID button, it takes you straight through to the volunteers hub, the support hub. So you click on that button, it will provide you with 2 more buttons. One is, do you need help or do you want to offer help? So that's been added. And we've also added some new buttons for partner organisations. So we've got things on there, the direct link through to the Severn Trent, to the police, to East Midlands and to the fire rescue, and also through to some of the districts. We've also done, when you click through to the individual services with waste and recycling, we just had the recycling centres on there initially. Well, we've added quite a lot more information so you can how to use our recycling centres and registering your vehicle. You can now book at our West Bridgeford site because we've got a booking system there. There's FAQs on what you can and can't recycle. We've also added links through to bulky waste collections and bin collections with districts, and also fly tipping, so booking that. Information on trade waste, and there is an option there to book to have asbestos removed. And with potholes and the highways tiles, we've added the current disruption tile on there now, also grass cutting, gritting routes, because they'll be coming up soon, and how to report a tree or a hedge issue. And with schools, we really had initially, when we went with this, just the school holidays on there. Well, we've now got a lot more information on schools and also a lot more information on the adult side. So we've included meals at home, which takes you straight through to county enterprise foods. You can pay for your care. You can find out information about benefits, and there's links again through here to the volunteer support hub. And also charities who can offer support. And with country parks and visiting Nottinghamshire, we've added a lot more country parks and a lot more places of interest. So we've got Pilgrim Routes on there, we've got Southern Minster on there, we've added a lot more of the different parks around the county, so people can click on those and get information about opening times and visiting times and costs and things like that. So in terms of comms, we've now got a comms plan that's been drafted so that we can start to really push the MyNots app, because we haven't been doing so over the last few months. So we've developed some graphics that we can use on our banners for our website and our intranet, and you'll start to see those coming through soon. We're going to make sure that it's included in all the social media posts and the email me notifications, and we're planning some media releases around look how far we've come type communication, and look at the new things that have been added, and also to develop some videos so that people can see how easy it is to use. So showing someone reporting a pothole, finding out school information, so that we get more downloads of the app. We've changed we're in the process of changing the core routing system at the CSC, so we're including MyNots messages within that, so that people, when they're on hold, can have information about MyNots app so that they can go away and try it. And we're also planning to work with some partner organisations to get links on their website and in their communications. So other work that we're picking up at the CSC, there are some services that aren't represented at the moment that we're planning to get on there, like trading standards, particularly around fraud and people knocking unwanted callers and the like. We haven't got anything on there at the moment for concessionary travel, so we're planning to include that, and also the planning team. We're working up a set of standards so that there will be standards in terms of the colour of the tiles, the size of the tiles, the icons that we use and how we order those, so that it's a lot more consistent. And we've also put a quality control process in place to make sure that it's in line with the new accessibility legislation, to make sure that when we load anything onto the app, it meets the new legislative standards. Other things that we're planning to do is making sure that the words on the tiles are plain English, so people understand what's behind that tile, rather than using our own speak. And planning more work with district and parish councils. We want to do some improvement around the performance information that we get out of the app, and we're working with the supplier to do that. I suppose it's around continually getting feedback and continually improving on what we've got already. We're also planning to develop a timetable of push notifications. So, for instance, we're coming into the winter months, so we might want to push gritting routes out there, or anything to do with flooding or high winds or weather, and some addition to some travel information, links to some bus timetables perhaps. Medium-term plans are looking at third-party systems, because some of the journeys are a little bit bumpy because of third-party systems, and they don't meet the new accessibility legislation. So there's some work planned with the web team, ICT departments and the procurement teams to make sure that when we change systems and when we bring in new systems, they have the accessibility legislation and they meet those standards. We want to do some improvements around the search functionality of what's on. At the moment, there's a lot of library schedules in there, so we probably want to do what's on in libraries and a what's on in knots. So we're looking at how we could do that. And the search functionality on job vacancies, so that you can search within the app on the type of job, the hours that you want to work, whether it's permanent or fixed term or temporary. More scope, I think, is needed to develop and improve links between Notts Help Yourself and the new community hub as they develop. And we also want to add some additional highways tiles, so bollards, skips, drop curbs, licence applications and those kind of things. And My Notts app and the website, you can't do multiple fault reporting. So if you've got 6 potholes that you want to do, it's very difficult and cumbersome to do that. So we want to work with that to see if you can do 6 at the same time. So we're continuing work with ICT and the service areas to work up a plan of how we do that. And then there are other things that we can do. This is the category 3 improvements, and these are the things that we will probably need ICT and the suppliers support with. So at the moment there isn't a back button. So if you're in the app, the only way back is to the home page and then forward again. So we want to put a back button in. We want to do some personalisation. People might want to view the app and only see the tiles that are relevant to them. There's some information governance standards around that. We want to do tailored push notifications, and we can only do that if we've got the personalisation in place. So, for instance, if there's going to be disruption or flooding in an area, we might want to alert just those people within that area. I've talked about skips and bollards and the multiple searching. And then we've got a wish list, I suppose, of other things that we could do. So we could have tailored links to planned roadworks. We could have links to car parks to show capacity and spaces, travel passes, instead of having a travel pass, have it within your MyNots app so that you can just show that and scan it when you get on the bus. Ability to use the app for prompts. So if your care package payment is due or your blue badge renewal is due, prompting it through the MyNots app is a possibility that we could look into. And also the ability for customers to choose the look and feel of the app themselves. So they might want to personalise it and have the tiles that are most important to them at the top. We could also look at things like the Handy Persons Adaptation Scheme and push work to the traders, and also pick up tailored customer satisfaction survey and engagement through the app itself. So I suppose our next steps are to carry on with the work that we're doing. We've got a lot of scheduled work that we can do, work with ICT to develop and scope the work that we can do together within NCC, but also start to define resources and requirements for any improvements involving ICT and the web team, and also the supplier. And I suppose what I want to do is get your approval to carry on with this approach, and also to provide scope up the next phase and bring that back to the Improvement and Change Committee for sign off. And this is the personalisation elements. And I'm open to anyone who has any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. What sort of timescale did you have on that?
Well, we're planning to meet the supplier at the beginning of October, so we can scope the work. So it will be probably the one after that. So I'm thinking probably November by the time we've got that developed further. That won't stop a lot of the work that we're already doing. And the work that we can do in-house will carry on with that. It's just the work that we need to do with the supplier, because there may be a cost to that. And if there's a cost to that, then members need to decide whether that's what they want to spend their money on, really. So we want to bring something back to you to approve that phase, if that's what we want to be doing.
Thank you, Maria. So let's definitely go to the recommendations. Is to request approval from members for the approach being taken to further develop MyNots app, and for them to consider the proposed changes and options presented during the meeting. So I'll make that recommendation. Do I have a seconder for that, please?
It's Councillor John Cotty, and yes, I second that recommendation, Chairman.
Thank you, John. Thank you for that. So now, if I can open it up, was it David Martin? Did you have your first hand up? Or I think. Well, let's start with you, David. And I know Tony's had his hand up. I've missed one.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, it's very user friendly. It's a bit stark. It looks a bit staid and a bit stark compared to most other apps. That's not a criticism. It's just my opinion. On the adult care, I'd like to see a tile for. I know it's on the county website, but I'd like to see a tile for applying for a disabled bay, because that's one of the biggest questions that I get asked. Where can I get the paperwork for a disabled bay, or something that on the adult care block that leads them to be able to find the route, the pathway, whatever it is, for applying for a disabled bay. But other than that, I keep using it. It's fun. Multiple potholes would be a good one to add to highways, definitely. Also, as well, I think in that section, I think you might need to put pavements in, because I get a lot of elderly people, especially in Ashfield, because we're fortunate enough to have had all the lights transformed into the new, the new light system. So the light radius doesn't spread as far. So because a lot of the light columns are situated under like a Victorian pattern, there's a lot of dark areas between, and some of the pavements are quite treacherous for some of the elderly people. So a pavement pothole marker would be good as well. All right, thank you.
Mute. Sorry, Tony, I was on mute, so it's up to Tony.
Thank you, Chair. As you know from previous updates, I do like this app and I use it quite often. So well done for your improvements. It's really good. I was a little surprised that only 6% of potholes are reported via the app. I was hoping that would be a lot more than that. So 3 questions. First, is this figure of 6% trending up or down? 2, is there some way we can promote this item for people to use it more? And 3, have you considered putting flu jabs on your winter pressures and your winter announcements? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Tony. And Jim, you have got some.
Thank you, Chair. A lot of what you said I don't agree with. My only niggle with it has been the actual multiple reporting of potholes, etc., which you've actually addressed. So I'm really looking forward to that when it actually comes. And that could be the reason why it's such a low figure. Once you've done it once, it's easier to ring with 2 or 3 than it is to actually report it on the app. But just a consideration, I don't know if it's possible and the laws requiring it, but on lots of things now you've got an autofill. So if you had an allow an autofill, that could fill in several of the apps, the applications. You could put your name and address in, it could put your potholes in, it could put your those details in. So I'm just wondering if it's possible in future to have an autofill function within it, within the whole app structure. That would save an awful lot of time and make it a lot more user-friendly as well. But it does require legislation, I suppose.
Okay, Jim, thank you. John Cotty, you want to say?
Yeah, mine's just on the theme of what Tony Harper was saying. Is I just wondered how many people are using the app now, unless I missed it. I know you said what there was at first take-up. And also, again, following on from Councillor Creamer as well, is what are we doing to promote it, to get more people using it, really. But well done on what you've done so far. Thank you.
Okay, Richard.
Yeah, apologies. This is on potholes again as well. It's in its infancy, so I suppose we've got to start somewhere. But I'm sure we'd all like to see that number increase. Do we know the people that are reporting potholes on the app, were they previously reporting potholes? So would they have been someone who would have taken the trouble to go on the website or make a phone call to report a pothole, or are these people who suddenly become empowered because it's so much easier on the app? And if we don't know, it might be worthwhile just doing a bit of sampling to try and find out, because I think what we want to do is increase the number of potholes that are reported, rather than necessarily just. It's not a bad thing if it shifts from one reporting method to another, but if we can increase the number that are reported, that's the key to getting them fixed sooner, isn't it?
Okay, thanks, Richard. I can tell you, Richard, I've got a constituent who used to phone in and now he does his app thing, and he was telling me the other day, he said on Sunday evening I sent it in by 10 o'clock, on Monday morning it was filled. So I don't know how that happened, but that's what happened. So somebody's getting it right somewhere. So anybody else? Okay, Maria, do you want to come back and answer those questions?
Yes, I will do. Thank you. Councillor Martin was talking about multiple potholes. That's in our scope. So we're hoping to get something done about that, because that's a niggle of mine too. Yes, we can get information on Disabled Bay. I'll add that to our list of things to do, and pavements. I'll make sure that we include pavements on there as well. It should be relatively easy to do that. So leave that with me, and we'll work on it. Councillor Harper was asking about the trend around the 6%, whether that's up or down. It's static at the moment. So I looked at the figures for March time and then again now, and it seems to be around 6%. But I think COVID's had quite an impact on that, because people weren't using the roads, people weren't out and about. So what I'd like to do is track it from the end of June going forward. I think the biggest thing that we need to do is promote it more, and that's why we've got a communication plan in place. People will only use this if it's in front of them, and they know about it. And unfortunately, we've not been doing that promotion as well as we could have been historically, but that's going to change because we've now got a plan in place. And yes, we can get information about flu jabs added to the adult social care and health pages.
Yeah, It wasn't the adult social care page. You said you was going to have a banner on the front page about current winter issues. And I wondered if you could there. So people don't go searching for it, just to remind people to go and get the jab.
Okay.
Sorry, Chair.
Yes, it's possible, and we'll look at that.
Okay.
Councillor Creamer was asking about multiple potholes. It's in the plan, so we'll work on that. And I think autofill will be a really good thing. So when we talk to the supplier, we'll ask them about whether that can be done. I think it's only possible when we've got the personalisation in place, because unless we've got the information, we won't be able to autofill. So we need to first of all get the personalisation in, and then we'll probably be able to do the autofill elements. But I can feed back on that next time. Councillor Cotty was asking about how many users. We started off with around 3,500 users. We've now got around 7,000. And I don't think that's bad to say we haven't promoted it that much. I'd like to see it up in 20 to 30,000 users, but I think we're a little way off yet, but it's creeping up. So that's good. It's going in the right direction. And Councillor Jackson was asking about potholes. Are these new people, or are these people that used to do it online and are now doing it on their phone? I think it's a mixture of both, but we have seen a reduction in the calls to the contact centre for potholes. So I think people, it wasn't in a high priority for them during the pandemic. So those calls have reduced, and we did have messaging on our telephony system at the customer service centre telling people to use the app, and also to go online unless it was urgent or they couldn't do so. So we've pushed back a little bit on highways contacts, so that people have been going online and have been using the app more. I think that was all the questions.
Thank you, Maria. Did you have another question, David?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it was only to say that obviously when you've sorted your promotional plan out, obviously there are 65 or 66 county councillors, and then the staff that work for the county council. So it's a very good way, and it needs to be user friendly so we can apply it to Twitter and Facebook. That's the main thing that we need to use to promote it if we can. All right, thank you, and obviously share that with the county council.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for that, Maria. Does any other officers want to say anything? No? Okay, thank you very much. So we have to approve the recommendation, which we have done and seconded. So I'll call on Sarah to the vote, please.
Thank you, Chairman. So once again, I will read out the names as follows. Councillor Adair.
4.
Councillor Cotty.
4.
Councillor Creamer.
4.
Councillor Fole.
4.
Councillor Harper.
4.
Councillor Jackson.
4.
Councillor Martin.
4.
Councillor Meal.
4.
Councillor Owen.
4.
All members voted for that motion.
Thank you, Sarah. So that's agenda item 5. So we'll move then to agenda item 6. Agenda item 6 is changes to the savings delivery profile of existing and previously approved projects. And I think, Sue, you're going to talk to that.
Thank you, Chair. So the purpose of this report is to seek approval of 2 project change requests to alter the delivery profile of agreed savings. Appendices A and B in the report contain the projects and the change requests. They are fostering development and social impact bond. So to start with the summary on fostering development. Over the past couple of years, as part of the Remodelling Care programme, plans have been developed to increase the profile and capacity of the NCC fostering service, resulting in a net increase of 50 children and young people placed with an internal foster carer over the current MTFS. So that will provide better placement choice for children and young people, will reduce costs, and will also promote NCC as an exemplar of best practice in fostering. The original proposal was based on having the improvements in place from April 2019, but delays occurred which have put the start date back. And those delays include the production of the business case, the recruitment of assessment social workers, and also then the assessment of potential carers due to the COVID-19 impact. So a review has been conducted of the number of foster carers moving through the recruitment and assessment process since September 2019 and has concluded that the original savings are achievable. However, due to the delays, the cashable budget savings haven't been achieved this financial year, and so it's proposed that the savings profile is moved back by 1 year, although the overall budget savings will remain unchanged. The second project is the social impact bond. The overall objective of the DN2 social impact bond is to work with a delivery partner to support children and young people to remain in a family type environment or return to live with birth families or primary carers, using grant funding from the Government Life Chances Fund. In order to access this funding, Outcomes for Children required a social investor, and there were delays in securing a social investor exacerbated by COVID-19, and that's resulted in the deferral of contract signature and consequently a delay in the start of implementation. So DN2 is now proposing to begin a phased implementation from this September, quickly after contract signature. So due to those delays described above, again, the cashable budget savings haven't been achieved this financial year and are proposed to be moved back by 1 year. And again, the overall budget savings remain unchanged. So if I take you to point 14, that summarises the net impact of the changes requested in the report. And in both cases, it's expected the savings will still be delivered, but need to be delayed by a year. So the recommendation is that subcommittee approve the change requests set out in the appendices A and B. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Sue. And as you said, what we have to do, the recommendation is that the subcommittee approve the changes requests set out in appendices A and B. And do I have a seconder for that, please?
Yes, Chairman, Councillor Cotty, I'm happy to second the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. So who would like to ask any questions about this? Councillor Full.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, and it's really good that we've got a significant number more foster carers. That's really good work, I think, considering what's been going on. The only thing I was going to ask is, I mean, both of these issues in terms of the social impact bond and the foster caring, these have been concerns for a while. This isn't a criticism of any of the work that's been done, because some of it's very good. Well, I'm sure all of it's very good, but getting good quality foster carers and trying to kind of get this social impact bond up and running. I said they've been around for as long as I can remember, as long as I've been a councillor. I just wonder how realistic now the savings profile is. You know, what I'm thinking is that we're going to be back here this time next year and say, well, actually, it's got to be shifted a bit further, because what I wouldn't want to see is putting unrealistic demands on officers and others that actually are going to add extra to the stress and actually aren't terribly helpful. Clearly, we need to be ambitious, and clearly it's good that the work's going on, but you know, we need to be absolutely realistic and make sure that when we get all these things in place, that actually they're working properly and that actually the savings are actually achievable. Thanks.
Any other comments? Okay, thank you. Would you like, Philip?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Since these two items come under my committee, it's perhaps appropriate that I just make a few comments. It's very apposite that at yesterday's Children's Committee, we did have a report on the national minimum fostering allowances payments, and again, we agreed as a committee that we would meet those minimum allowances that we pay to foster carers. I would just point out that 925 children were looked after by the local authority as of the 30th of June. That figure is likely to rise, unfortunately. I think we're already experiencing an increase in referrals to the MASH, which is really what was predicted. So I take Councillor Foll's point in terms of unrealistic savings, but you have, in the current financial circumstances, got to look and see what savings you can make. Foster carers approved by the council, as I'm sure many of you know, provide the best value in terms of financial value, and I would argue probably in terms of what they achieve with the young people. An internal fostering placement costs the council approximately £300 a week less. So for every foster carer that we can recruit, if you want to put it in these terms, we are saving the council £300 a week, which is an enormous sum of money when you take it over a year and when you take it over the number of children that have to go into foster care. In November 2019, the department established a recruitment and assessment team, and the throughput of prospective foster carers has increased. Between January and June of this year, 14 new foster carers were approved at a panel. So you multiply 14 by 300 and you can start to see some of the savings that are going to come into effect. Now, if this rate continues over the next 6 months, and I accept it's an if, I can never guarantee this and I wouldn't wish to, we would see an increase of 75% on last year's figures. So in spite of the lockdown measures put in place to halt COVID-19, the marketing activity which was delivered just prior to lockdown has resulted in a spike in enquiries, and the Foster Care Fortnight campaign, which ran from the 11th to the 24th of May, and I pay tribute to the staff that were able to do that under very dire circumstances, that was still run. And if I can just give you some figures, if you'll bear with me, Chairman, these were reported yesterday. As a result of that Foster Care Fortnight campaign, there were 11,701 visits to the fostering web pages within 4 weeks of the campaign launch. That, I think, is an incredible figure, quite frankly, compared with 1,208 visits in the preceding 4 weeks. There were 105 new subscribers to the recruitment email within 4 weeks against a target of 50. So if you want to criticise, you perhaps could say we're not ambitious enough in our initial figures. 32 enquiries were received within 4 weeks of the launch, and 8 have already progressed to initial visit stage. Just to finish off this section, there are currently 26 potential mainstream foster carers booked in to panels between July and December of this year, and there are a total of 45 applications. So I think you can see that the department is doing really as much as it can at the moment to increase that number of foster carers. And we think it's extremely important to do so. You've got to set that against, of course, natural wastage in terms of retirement. Like the rest of us, foster carers don't get any younger. And also, you've got to set it against a background where I started, that external placements are charging £300 a week more, some of which goes into the foster carers' pockets. But a lot of it goes into hedge funds who seem to have taken ownership of these external providers. And I have said on more than one occasion that government should consider putting a cap on what is charged by these external foster agencies. I know some of them are very specialised and therefore very expensive, but a lot of them are simply sucking out funds from the local authority, and they are disappearing, no doubt, into offshore accounts, and that is not what we should be about. But I'm afraid at the moment that has fallen on deaf ears. It might take me to have another visit to a minister to bang the drum, but clearly that's not possible at the moment. So I hope, Chairman, that's given committee some reassurance as to what we're doing. And if I could just, in finishing off, say a few words about the social impact bond. I know there has been a delay, but between you and me, I am not too unhappy. I know Nigel Evans will be very unhappy, but I'm not too unhappy about this, because what has happened is that it's now involving Nottingham and Nottinghamshire Futures. They are a not-for-profit company, partly owned by ourselves and Nottingham City Council. They have a track record of delivery, and they also have a track record of providing guidance, effective guidance, to ensure that young people can get into employment. And that, to my mind, is going to be a critical factor in keeping these young people who are on the edges, is a critical factor in keeping them on the straight and narrow. So although the savings have been delayed, I do welcome the involvement of Nottinghamshire Futures, and I think it can only be to the benefit of the young people who actually go through that system. So I hope that's given some context and reassurance to members of the committee, Chairman. Thank you for indulging me.
Thank you, Philip. David, did you want to say something? Unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Thank you. Yes, thank you, Councillor Owen. That was very enlightening. I'm not really upfront with the foster care market and how it works. My biggest question is what impact the delay in the process has had on people who require foster care. And my other question would be, if the campaign for enlisting foster carers was so good in May, why don't we run it twice a year? Because if it was cost effective, then I think it would be worth doing again, because I'm all for foster carers being individuals and not through a massive company.
Okay, thank you, David. Sue, did you like to sum up then, please, on those questions and the commentary?
Will do. Thank you very much. Thank you, Councillor Owen, for that context. That was really helpful in giving us a perspective on the background of that. In terms of the questions, Councillor Fole, I understand the slight anxieties about whether we can be confident about the deadlines going forward. And I suppose the main risk there will be the COVID-19 impact if it goes in a direction we're not expecting. But the dates were reviewed before we brought this proposal forward to check that we were confident, and we are as confident as we can be that those dates are reasonable and those savings can be delivered. So we have considered that before we brought the paper. Councillor Martin, in terms of that, the impact of that delay, I guess it's that we were able to place less children and young people through the council than through external partners. So that's, as Councillor Owen said, that's not such a good result financially or in terms of the service delivery to those children and young people. So we have the intention to move in that direction. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Sue. Thank you all for those comments. So I think in place, go to the recommendations on Appendix A and B. And Sarah, would you like to take us to the vote, please?
Thank you, Chairman. So once again, I will read members' names in turn. Councillor Adair.
For.
Councillor Cotty.
For.
Councillor Creamer.
For.
Councillor Fole.
For.
Councillor Harper.
For.
Councillor Jackson.
For.
Councillor Martin.
For.
Councillor Meal.
For.
Councillor Owen.
For.
Again, everybody voted for that motion.
Thank you all very much. Thank you for that. So then we can move to agenda item 7, which is ICT Operational Performance Quarter 1 2021. And I'll ask Mark Davis to introduce the report for us, please. Mark.
Thank you, Chair. This is just the short regular report reporting on ICT performance, and this is for the first quarter of period 2021. The report is split into 4 activity areas. We do this to give a wide range of reporting for ICT, and this is business activities, customers, staff and finance. If I go to Business activity indicators first. This is the indicator about systems availability and incident resolution, and we were above our service level for this period. The ICT services has been particularly high this quarter, the 8th consecutive quarter with performance above 99.98%. All the data backing up this report is in the appendix that also follows this report. We've increased our mobile footprint by a further 4% across the estate, which is a positive contribution in terms of allowing mobile working. If I look at the item 6, change, we obviously have to implement a lot of that we have a robust and rigorous change process. In this quarter, we've had 186 technical changes made, and we had 3 of those with negative impact, which is 98.41% against the target of 98%. If I move on to the customer indicator, this is our TripAdvisor score, which is what the users of the service think of us through our service desks, through the ICT support desk and the school support desk. And our target is 4.5, and we've achieved 4.89, which is hopefully good in anybody's mind. Staff indicator, this is looking at staff training, which is perhaps one of the things that even during the lockdown, staff can continue training. And again, we have exceeded our target on this particular metric. In terms of finances, the annual revenue spend is in line with the overall budgets, although there is a small increase due to additional resources that were required to manage the needs during the COVID pandemic. This actually balances out because there was a small underspend and a small overspend, which is, I think, puts us at 117,000 overspend. The profile for capital spend is as expected, although with a larger than amount this quarter because of the renewal of the Microsoft licenses, which is a significant amount of the capital budget. So whilst it's expected, this particular quarter is a higher spend than all the other quarters. And I believe that is the report. And as I said, if there's any details that you'd like to look into, they're in appendix, and I'm happy to take questions.
Would you like to add anything, Nigel, to that?
If I may, Chairman, thank you. I thought I'd take the opportunity to inform members about where we are with the journey for ICT transformation. If colleagues will remember, back in January, Policy Committee approved phase 1 and the organisational design structure and the top-level structure for ICT, and the plan was then to rapidly move into phase 2 with a more detailed restructure. Fortunately, obviously, responding to COVID, we paused that process, but now Mark and I have started that process then into the more detailed structure review, and that's currently out to consultation with staff. That consultation will finish on the 2nd of October, which is a week on Friday, and obviously will be influenced by the Council's approach to transformation and change, as mentioned by Derek earlier. And the aim will be to bring the new structure to Policy Committee in November. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Nigel. Thank you for that. So the recommendation is that members consider the opportunities arising from this progress report and agree to receive a further report for the next quarter. So that's the proposal. Do I have a seconder for that?
Yes, Chairman, it's Councillor Cotty. I'll second that recommendation, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So now I'd like to invite comments, please. And I think, Kate, you were first.
Okay, thank you, Chair. This looks very positive. Thank you for that. It's very helpful. I just wanted to say thank you. I think the way that the ICT team have helped members engage with the teams and have this, so we can have this kind of meeting reasonably reliably on a regular basis with everybody involved. I think it's a tremendous achievement. I just wanted to thank you for your patience and your skill to make it all happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Philip.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Following on from that and Councillor Foll's reference to teams, I think we're all very used now to having meetings or conducting meetings via Teams, but an irritant is the fact that, well, it's just me, but seem to drop out of meetings. I won't say regularly, but we do from time to time. And that is extremely disruptive. Now, I don't understand the mechanics of all of this and the actual workings of it, but it seems to be this Cisco thing that pops up and says we are connected to the Notts County Council internet, and it says that. I was in a meeting yesterday afternoon and with the chief executive and my vice chairman concerning safeguarding of children, and for some reason the signal just went, and it's a major irritant because the only way I can then get back on is to log out, log back in again, and it's at least 5 minutes, if not longer. And that's not the only occasion. When I've been involved in an external meeting as well, I attended the HS2 Skills Board. Again, I was in mid-flow and it dropped out. And it's doing that more regularly now than it used to. And I contrast that because I use another computer for my Teams meeting with Broxtowe Borough Council, and I haven't dropped out of that once. And I also had a training session with Cambridge International Exams a week or so ago, where there were over 350 participants, and no one seemed to drop out of that, and I certainly didn't drop out of it. So is there anything that can be done? Is there anything that I'm not doing or anything that I'm doing wrong to stop this relatively regular dropping out of meetings, which causes considerable annoyance?
Thank you, Philip. Any other comments before I go
Thanks
back?
for that feedback. It's always good to find out how systems are working out in the field. And I've just turned my video off because I'm actually getting a message that says I'm getting poor network quality. I think the first thing we need to do is get the VIP team to have a look at your laptop and see if there's anything particular about your laptop. But what I would say is it's, and this sounds like a slippery shoulder thing, but it's not meant to be, is that there's so many moving parts in the solution that we're using, in that there's your laptop, there's the internet connection you're using, which could be your home broadband or an office connection or wherever it is that you are. There's the internetwork connection, which for NOTS is Virgin Media. And then there's the network at the other end. Not least of all, our VPN and, as you say, the Cisco device, the ASA. The Cisco ASA message will always appear if your network connection has dropped for some reason, because it has to reconnect. The only indicator you've got of that is that the Cisco device pops up and says, I'm reconnecting. So it may or may not be the Cisco device or software that's in fault, but that doesn't mean it's not. And that doesn't help you either, which is why I think we need to progress this and have a look, get the VIP team to look at your laptop and see if there's anything we can do to help, and see if there's anything in particular that is different with your setup to see if we can help progress this. But the short answer is you're doing the right things. But there are many moving parts, and it doesn't always work smoothly for everybody, unfortunately.
Any further comments? Anything else, Mark? Anything, Nigel, you'd want to add to that?
No, thank you, Chairman. Again, I would echo what Mark said. I'm grateful for the feedback from colleagues. We do our best. But obviously, as Mark says, there's many moving parts. But I'm grateful also for the patience shown by colleagues as well through these as we progress. So thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Nigel. Thank you for that. So I think then we've debated that. So Sarah, can we take that to the vote then, please?
Thank you, Chairman. So once again, I'll read the names as follows. Councillor Adair.
For.
Councillor Cotty.
For.
Councillor Creamer.
For.
Councillor Fole.
For.
Councillor Harper.
For.
Councillor Jackson.
For.
Councillor Martin.
For.
Councillor Meal.
For.
Councillor Owen.
For.
Again, everybody voted for that motion.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you all very much. So agenda item 8 is the work programme going forward. And I think it's there it's a flexible document, depending on what we want to bring onto it, because the next meeting's on the 23rd of November, and we've got, you can see there what's on for that, and if anything else crops up, we'll be looking forward perhaps to Derek's development between now and then, what he's going to bring to us, and at that particular point. Any other comments on that anybody wants to add on the work programme? So we're okay, we're all prepared to accept the work programme. So if the work programme, so we don't need a show of hands, do we? We all got the nods. So that's good. So anyhow, let's say that's the conclusion of the meeting. Thank you all very much. Have a nice afternoon. The sun's shining, so go and enjoy it. Apparently it's the last day of sunshine for this year, so we better take heart and go and get some of it. Vitamin D or something they call it. All right. Thank you very much. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.